All right, Mr. Dave Ruel, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast, my brother. I am super stoked to connect.
I'm stoked to be here, Carrie. Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, man, this is going to be awesome. I really do look to you as someone who is living the happy hustling lifestyle. You built multiple multi-million dollar companies. You have, your own book and coaching business and certification programs, and you have, a journal that's just awesome, how to be more efficient as an entrepreneur and get more done by noon than others do in the whole entire day, which I'm super stoked to get into that system and framework. And you're just living, quite honestly, like the dream. And I'm excited to unpack some of that and share how you got to where you are in this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast. But before we get into all that good stuff, tell us something interesting about yourself that not too many people know.
I was born on a 9 square mile island, and I lived 18 years of my life there.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know that. And I was because I live in New Brunswick now. I was born in Saint-Pierre-Miquelon, so the small islands, French islands on the south coast of Newfoundland. And I was born and raised there. And I still go back every year. Obviously, like less travel now with COVID, but
yeah,
go back and catch lobsters, fish, cod, and do all the stuff you do on a remote North Atlantic island.
Yeah, very cool. Personally, growing up, half in Montana, I love the outdoors, and I love, we share a passion for Mother Nature and fishing and camping and hiking and hunting. So, that's awesome to hear that you grew up in such a small town, and now here you are, coming back full circle, living, back in nature.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about your background. Like, what was, childhood like for Dave? Start there and kind of walk us through, in an efficient manner, in true Effic format. How'd you get to where you are now?
That's hilarious because I'm an efficient worker, but I'm not efficient with my words. I always talk too much. No, growing up on a small island was actually, I think, a blessing. Safe environment, with nature. I didn't grow up with in a rich family or anything like that. My parents are just like my dad has a construction business. My mom has a small government job, and I was just blessed of having a lot of things around me that I could do, like play hockey. I could go fishing. I could go all these things, like pretty much right there. And I had that. The problem is though with a tiny island is that becomes your own reality, right? Because there's no bridge or anything like that. Every time you want to go somewhere, you have to take the boat or the plane.
Yeah.
And anyway, and it's if weather permits, So you feel like trapped a little bit. And at 18 years old, actually 2 days after turning 18, I decided to go actually cross the pond to Europe. I lived in France for 3 years. Went to school there, and
very cool.
And then crossed back and moved to New Brunswick, and then met I've moved there almost 20 years ago, and met my wife and built a family there in northern New Brunswick.
Ah, very cool. So that's one thing that when I was traveling abroad, especially living in Barcelona, I loved France. France, the southern region, the Costa Brava, region, and I'm gonna butcher my French, but it's Je m'appelle Carrie, ça va?
That's enough to go by, man.
That's all I got. Oui, oui.
There you go. Yeah. What exactly. You don't understand? You just not to say oui, oui.
Exactly. So, Dave, let's talk about some of what inspired you to create Effic, your company, and this whole efficiency mindset, and how potentially happy hustlers can, use some of these tactics to increase their performance.
Yeah, just like I guess many entrepreneurs, I really started with freedom in mind, right? I started research. So the way I stumbled onto the great word of online marketing, online business, is I was competing bodybuilding. I was an amateur bodybuilder in the early 2000s, and in 2007, I meet a guy named Lee Hayward, and I was competing in Newfoundland that weekend, and at that time, I just reached out on the forum, on the message board, and I said, listen, I'm traveling. If there's anyone who wants to share a room with me, feel free to. I mean, no one will share a room because I knew there were people from outside of town we were competing to. Lee answered me and said, like, hey, you can stay in my basement on my couch if you want. Like, it's open. I'm competing that weekend. I was like, perfect. I didn't know what the guy was. We knew each other from the message board, but I had no idea what he was doing for a living. So I fly there. I meet Lee, and first thing, like pretty much like the first morning, like we start chatting, and like, well. He's like, okay, well, this morning I got a little bit of work to do. I got some emails to reply. I should be done by noon. And I'm like, then we can go hit a workout. And it's like, that's great, man. I was like, it's nice to be on vacation, right? And, and he's like, no, it's very much like that every day for me. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, it's like, I work online. That's what I do. I got a bodybuilding blog. I was like, mind blown. I was like, okay, like, how does that work? Like, explain to me how you make, like, how you're able to live. And his wife was actually like working with him full time. It was like, okay, like, how do you make 6 figures a year, like, on the bodybuilding? So he explained to me like how it worked, and I started entering the world of direct response marketing. And that was in 2007. I became obsessed with that. After 2007, man, my bodybuilding career started dwindling because I was so obsessed with building a business that, I put all my focus that I had put in fitness and into my business. And in 2009, I went full time. We started with a blog, with a website for nutrition, for bodybuilding, and we launched cookbooks. So we had multiple cookbooks, anabolic cooking, metabolic cooking, became bestsellers, and it was pretty much like it's an instant success because it took me 2 years of learning, the chops and learning how it's done, launching the product, and after that, I met Matt Gallant, so one of my friends, and it's one of your friends too, from Biooptimizer. So Matt and I met each other, and we had like people were seeing what I was doing, and they were like, okay, how can you do what you do with me? Because it's like I do YouTube videos, I do this, and it's not picking up. And we started working with different people, and we started publishing companies. So we were actually taking people who had audiences, and there was no Instagram, and like Facebook was like not super popular back at the time. That time, so we started publishing other people. We work with Scott Abel, Elliot Halls, different guys like that. And we were pretty much building their online infrastructure, their whole marketing, everything for them. And we did that. Ended up then Matt was a shareholder at Biooptimizer, was one of the owners of Biooptimizers. It wasn't called Biooptimizers at the time. And the company, like, Biooptimizers, it was born in 2004. It's a legendary old, like, company. It's a solid company.
I didn't know that. That's a long time.
Yes. And they were really like focused on the enzymes back in the days, and they were due for a rebrand. They were due for develop an affiliate program, things like that. And that's kind of my specialty. So I bought into the company, and me, Matt, Wade, and I turned it around. We went from pretty much like low 6 figures that it was making down up to $3.2 million in revenue in 18 months with Biooptimizers.
Wow.
And I had a 2-year agreement. I was like, listen, 2 years, I take 2 years of my life to do that. After that, I can decide if I want to stay, if I want to sell. And if I want to sell, you have shotgun if you want to buy back the shares. And we had everything figured out. And that's what I did. 2016, sold my shares of Biooptimizers. And the company is doing fantastic now. Matt and I we're still best friends, and it's so good to see like what they're doing. They keep innovating. They keep releasing products too. Because when I left, we had the protein, we had vitamins, we had probiotics, we had the enzymes were the main products. Now they have like the magnesium. They have like a lot of great products. They keep innovating. It's fantastic. And when I left Biooptimizers, I was pretty much like, okay, my first business is already running, and what do I do now? And I had the opportunity to coach actually a group of entrepreneurs, and because they wanted to know how to build an online business, that was the thing. So I was like, okay, well, I'll coach you. So we created that coaching mastermind, and I followed them for a year. And this is when I realized that entrepreneurs have a hard time getting organized. Like I saw they were all making the same mistakes, and those were mistakes that I had to deal with because I burned out myself. Like I drifted away from my original vision of freedom, which was the main mission, right? For me, like the done by noon type of thing, like it stuck with me. Like how can I do that? And I would say business happens. We get busy, and when the business goes well, there's more reactivity that happens, and no one teaches us that, as mostly especially online entrepreneurs. That's something you learn in school or that you naturally born. Like you don't know, so you have to figure out. And I realize that most entrepreneurs have the same problem. So from there, based on that year of following on helping entrepreneur, Effic was born this way to actually help them lead themselves better. The Effic Planner was born, which was the first tool that we released. And from there, the methodology itself, like we really crystallized the methodology, and we started actually last year. We started licensing the methodology, so we have a certification program now. And actually, as of a few weeks ago, we get done by noon. How to achieve more by noon than other entrepreneurs in a full day. So it pretty much sums up the whole methodology. So you can actually take the book, read it, and apply the full methodology if you want to, so for yourself. So this is how Effic was born. I still I did some consulting with businesses in the meantime to help them run more efficiently and streamline their operations. And yeah, here we are.
Awesome.
That was my short answer.
That was great, man. I mean, it really painted the picture of how you got to where you are, and I think that completely resonates with me in terms of entrepreneurs becoming reactive, not actually proactive. There's common mistakes I'm sure we all are making, but can you share a couple of those that you would see time and time again, and maybe the solution to correcting, let's say, those top 3 entrepreneurial problems?
Yeah, well, dude, there were more than 3, but I would say the first one is that that there are natural resistance to structure when we're entrepreneurs, especially when we're freedom driven entrepreneurs, because we want the thing that I see is that I see 3 types of freedoms. You have your time freedom, so it's pretty much doing things when you want. There's creative freedom, meaning doing the work that you really want, what you want to do, work on. And there's financial freedom. So obviously you want to make a living out of it, right? So when you get started, usually like financial freedom is the first one, right? So you're going to start selling, you're going to do all other things that are going to put money in the bank. But then what you're going to realize that as you build your business, the door becomes open to reactivity, right? So we kind of become reactive to our business. And all of a sudden there's just too much, right? And so our time freedom that we seek as well becomes, we got less and less of that time. And the more we get busy doing the things that we're reactive to, means that we have less creative freedom. And I think for most entrepreneurs, this is the biggest problem. Like I think entrepreneurs love to work. I think like the myth that it's like the 4-hour work week. No one wants to only work 4 hours. There's not a single entrepreneur who wants to work only 4 hours.
Yeah, it sounds good.
No, it sounds good, but it's just it's like done by noon. People just want to reclaim their time, but to do what? To create more of what they want, to live a life that resonates with them. So at first, the goal is to make enough money so you don't have to work for someone else. But then it's to actually get structures so you can actually work for yourself and create what you want. I don't know, for me, that was the main thing. That was actually one of my main drivers to sell my shares of Biotomizers and to sell the publishing company, is because I realized that it's great. I build great businesses, money-wise, like we're crushing it.
Yeah.
But I'm not creating. And I feel most entrepreneurs need to create. And we don't have that creative freedom. I feel like you're slowly dying inside, right? So I think this is one of the things that, like, some of the things that entrepreneurs really struggle with.
Yeah.
And we're reluctant sometimes because we're freedom driven to actually install the structure in our lives, because like, hey, if I'm stuck, if I have to do this, I don't want to be boxed, Yes, I know, but you got to learn how to lead yourself as an entrepreneur. And that's the main problem. We don't know how to lead ourselves as entrepreneurs. And how do you want to lead a great business if you don't even know how to lead yourself? right? It's like you have to learn it. It's like working out. When you start working out, and remember the first time you hit a gym and you were sitting there on that bench press with these 25 pounds on each side, and you were like intimidated by all these big dudes, and you were struggling to lift that bar because you didn't know how to do it and you didn't have proper form. Well, it's the exact same thing in business. You have to start lifting, but then you have to be smarter. You have to work on your technique. You have to optimize what you have and work within your capacities as well, and learn how to do that. And that's the principles of what I call self-leadership, right? You need to be a good self-leader if you want to be a good business leader.
Yeah. Love that, Dave. I mean, seriously, the time freedom, the financial freedom, and the creative freedom, it's so well said. And I think a lot of people go into it with, priority numero uno, like, let's get that money so I don't have to, work for other people. And that's great. And if you're at that stage listening, all the happy hustlers out there, that's great. However, once you hit that tipping point and you do make enough money, then you're going to want some of your time back. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you didn't sell yourself into a corner, which I see a lot with coaches who they sell their time for money and then they're basically left with no more time. So it's very important to make sure that you're balancing, one of my favorite words in the dictionary, all three of those freedoms that you crave, and especially the creative freedom, because you want to make sure that you're feeding your soul and you're impacting the world and showing up in the way that you want to, show up. And I think being an entrepreneur allows you those three freedoms if, like you said, you're a self-leader.
But it's a juggling act, right? I think you got to be careful with. I'm always wary of the word balance, because I feel like sometimes we try to make everything weigh the same, and sometimes your main priority will have to become financial freedom.
Yeah.
But sometimes your main priority will need to be your creative freedom. But it's a juggling act. They're all interdependent in some ways, but you're going to have to start, to prioritize. It's just to never lose sight of that. And it's so easy to lose sight of it, because the busier we get, I call that the drift. It's like, you're on a perfectly, initially, you know where you're heading.
Yeah.
Right? But all of a sudden you start drifting a little bit. Yeah. Then you go off course, and all of a sudden you're in the woods, and then all of a sudden you're lost, and you're like, where am I?
Yeah.
And that's what happens with most entrepreneurs. That's why most people burn out. That's why most people are totally unmotivated by their business, and they're like, what the hell am I doing? And it's hard to get back on the right path. So a lot of people just end up scrapping their businesses and starting from scratch. And I think it's a mistake. I think a lot of people would, if they would understand how not to drift, or even when they drift, recognize that they're drifting and come back on the road, they would save them a lot of pain,
Yeah, great point. I mean, drifting, you see it time and time again with people building businesses, and then they'll say yes to one opportunity and take them a little bit further off their path, and then yes to another, and then it'll take them a little further. So if you're out there right now listening to Dave and hearing this whole mindset of being efficient and being clear with your vision and not saying yes to every opportunity, maybe just take a little time and introspection on where you are currently, and if you have led yourself astray in some areas, because focusing on that end vision and keeping that target clear is essential. And just to your point, balance is forever and always will be a teetering act, a seesaw, will you? And you have to constantly juggle personal life, professional life, and every other area. And that's why I have, the 10 alignments of being a happy hustler, because I self-quantify once a week, where am I at in my personal, 10 alignments. And even now we have this blissful balance.
I love that framework. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
man.
used to do the same when I was coaching. There was not like you do. I love your framework, but I was doing an alignment scorecard with my client, with my coaching students. So it was the same thing, and I love that it's a binary thing. So yes or no. Yeah. Did you do it? Yes or no. It's not in between. Yes or no, and you could track. Actually, I could see how much red. So when they were tracking in the spreadsheet, if it was a yes, it was a green. If it was a no, it was a red. And you could see it And you could see the weeks where things go to shit. They're like, oh, there's a lot of red there.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? And,
Yeah.
and then you track. I love your 10 alignments. I love that.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate that. And I think it's so important because what you can measure, you can manage. And so making sure that you guys are out there listening, if you want a happy hustle, your dream reality, you have to manage and measure your daily activities. And if you haven't already, and you guys are listening to this, you can go to thehappyhustle.com and put /quiz, and you can actually take the quiz to see where you may be out of balance in one of those 10 alignments. And definitely we're going to get to this, but I want you guys to pick up a copy of Dave's book, Done by Noon, too, because we're talking about efficiency. Boom, there it is. Love it. I mean, this book is a must read if you have any aspiration of being an entrepreneur and actually, being an efficient one. So, yeah.
But I love that you really you really put the emphasis on the word efficiency, because the way I see productivity is an efficiency first approach to productivity. Because when you look at it, what is efficiency? It's the ability to create the desired outcome, right? We're using the least amount of finite resources. But when you look other than money, what are your finite resources as an entrepreneur? Your time, your energy, and your attention, right? When you look at productivity from a quantity standpoint, it's the output is as much as possible, so as much as you can produce. But the input is how much as you can feed the machine as possible. And I can tell you, if you run the machine full throttle at all times, the machine's going to break.
Oh, yeah. Burnout.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's why it's important to go with an efficiency first approach to productivity to have sustainability. And sustainability is the key, in my opinion, to success. This is when you have sustainability, when you have momentum, it's a lot easier to juggle the freedoms now, because you're not like fast and everything's coming fast and you don't know what's happening and you're burning out. You have actually a system that allows you to play the long-term game.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, efficiency first, focusing on what needs to get done, the quality of accomplishing that task in order to reach that desired outcome.
Yeah.
And I think you just perfectly broke down the difference between efficiency and productivity. I mean, a lot of people.
I see productivity as the same. When you look at, efficiency and productivity, it's pretty much the same type of definition. But we want to be productive. Productivity is a good thing, but long-term productivity, you know what I mean? It's not. It's really like if you look at the more, I always say it's not about the more. You always hear that it's more or it's smart. Yeah, no, more is never good, because you always push, and eventually you will burn out. The key and smart, okay, I get it. You have to work smart, but you also have to work smart. What I say is that you have to work right. You have to work right depending on your ambition, on your capacity, on where you want to go, on your own context. There's so many factors. You cannot say, oh, you either work hard or you work smart. No, it's a given that you're going to have to work hard. Nothing is fucking easy laying on in a hammock with palm trees and money's flowing into your bank account. It doesn't happen like that. You have to work hard. And the problem with working smart too, and you probably see it in biohacking too, a lot of guys want to optimize before they have actually anything to optimize. You need a strong, a good foundation. And I think you can, yes, you're going to need to work hard. You're going to need to work smart, but you need to work right. And when you work right and you're in alignment, dude, this is where the magic happens. This is where you're in a good state as an entrepreneur. This is when you have sustainability as an entrepreneur. This is when you become, a happy hustler, because the hustle is part of it. I'm not a big fan of the word hustle because it has, I think some guys push it too far. You know what I mean? But it is part of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You love to work. You have to do it right.
100%. Totally agree with that, Dave. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's all about long-term sustainability, and not just sustainability in our business, but in our planet too. And, being an eco warrior, you see when we're burning fossil fuels at an alarming rate, that's not sustainable. And either is burning your candle at both ends, grinding, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I've done it. And many of the happy hustlers know my story, but, or at least a part of it. When I was, 22 years old. I was hungry as hell, working 100+ hour weeks in New York City, wearing the suit and tie with my brother for our tech startup, soliciting a 7-figure funding deal for 6 months straight. We worked 100+ hour weeks to get this big deal. And we met with Microsoft and IBM and all these huge companies. And we just basically were doing the old fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah.
And we got the deal. We got the 7-figure funding, but we were so burnt out. We could not even accept the money because it came with a 5-year clause that we had to be beholden to the money and the shareholders, rightfully so, if they're giving us that much money. But I moved to Bangkok, Thailand because I was so burnt out. I lived in Thailand for 9 months, and my brother went and got his master's at the University of Florida. And, we folded the tech startup, even though it was a fantastic idea. You have to realize what Dave's saying is sustainability is the key. Being efficient is the key.
But you were out of alignment.
100%.
That's the thing. Like why? And that's another thing too. And tell me if I'm wrong, and I think that's a lot of what young entrepreneurs do a lot is what I call ambition appropriation. We see other people and we're like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And we think that's the reality. We think, and that's what the entrepreneurial culture promotes. Right? It's a culture of more. It's a culture of, grinding, hustle, like the culture is toxic. And we see that and we say, that's the reality. That's the way entrepreneurship is. It's not. It's one side of it. If you want to do it, perfect, but do it if it's in alignment with what you truly want. That's why I always talk about working right. You're not working right if you're not in alignment with what you want. Like, for example, you were wearing I don't know, you don't appear to me like a guy with a suit and tie, 24/7. You know what I mean?
This is the fanciest I've ever been on a podcast interview for you, Dave. A blazer.
Dude, but bro, I'm sure you can rock, a 3-piece suit. But what I'm saying is it really in line with who you are?
Yeah.
You're a Montana guy. You love your camp. You love to travel. All these things. Like, see, you drifted because other people told you this is where to go, and it was not your destination.
Yeah, 100%. You got to be true to yourself and your soul's calling. And I really do feel we're all here for a reason, to bring our message to the world, to make a positive impact, to live a life of passion and purpose and positive impact. And you can have it all, guys. Like, that's what the Happy Hustle is about. It's not just hustling, because you will burn out. And it's not just all about happiness, sitting in the hammock, like Dave said, floating in with the breeze. It's putting the two together. And that's the inspiration, and for me, I feel so called to solve that problem of imbalance in entrepreneurship, because I see a ton of my fellow entrepreneurs who are just sacrificing everything, everything for money. Relationships, health, family, fun, all of it. Yeah. And for what? For profit and success. And what happens is they often get to the top of the mountain and they realize they're the only one there. They alienated everyone, right? Yeah.
They lost everybody in the process.
Yep.
And no one wanted to follow, right? And that's the thing. I think you have to ask yourself, why you're doing these things, and things change. I talk about in the book is that, your priorities change. You're not the same when you're 22 years old, then you're 30, then you're 38. For me, when my first daughter was born, it brought me a complete different perspective on life. There's different things that happened in my life where, like, I changed my vision. I was like, you know what? This is not what I want. Or that makes you realize that, okay, what I thought I evolved to be was actually me drifting. I'm grateful for the experience, but when I think about it, was I fully aligned with what I really wanted? I'm proud of what I did. However, like, I had to realign at one point.
Yeah.
And that's why I think your framework is great. Is that you need that direction. And you're right. Health and relationship.
Yeah.
This is the first thing that's going to go out the window. Yeah. Like with these people, like that's, and more than often it's too late when they realize that they need to do something. Yeah. It's like burnout is the same. You don't know you're burning out until actually you're like, fuck, I'm really burnt out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all had those epiphany moments where we're like, okay, enough's enough. We have to change our ways. And if this is one of those moments for you guys, allow Dave and I to just help be the catalyst to guide you in your journey and hear this now where you're like, okay, maybe I am in alignment or maybe I'm out of alignment, but whatever it is for you, just recognize it, be honest. And, I think it's important, Dave, I do want to break down some of these awesome tactics and performance, tips that you outline in Done by Noon, that this phenomenal book. Give us a little breakdown as to like some tangible, take homes that the happy hustlers can apply to actually get more accomplished by noon.
Yeah. So, we talked about alignment, and actually projection is the first step of the methodology. So, it's understanding where I'm going and set, a straight path to go there. Then the second step is prioritization. So it's understanding, okay, what do I need to focus on in order to, make this happen? There's 4 types of entrepreneurial tasks. Okay. And it's the 4 R's. So we talk about the rocks. So rocks are your projects. These are your things that are going to bring innovation to your business. This is what's going to bring growth to the business. These are the things that you need to do in order to grow. They're what we call the routines. And the routines are all the operational tasks that keep coming back in your business, but that are mandatory for the proper functioning, right? And we always have these tasks that we keep doing, week in and week out.
Yeah.
They always keep coming back. These 2 types of tasks, I call them the power moves. These are your main focus tasks that you need to have. The 2 other tasks, which have less impact, but that you will have to deal with in your business, no matter who you are or what type of business you're running, are what we call the reactive tasks. So the tasks that are actually the result of your day-to-day operations. So the things you didn't see coming that, could come at, like, we're talking customer support, we're talking things that break, we're talking about, specific situations. I mean, we always have them. And the 4th one are responsive tasks, which are everything that has to do with communication. We're in an era in business where communication is key. However, the problem is that when you have too much of them, what happens? You drift. And we call these 2 types of tasks the drifters. And the problem is when you allow the drifters to lead you and lead your business, guess what happens to the high impact tasks? They're not prioritized, and more than often they don't happen. So you just keep spinning your wheels, but nothing important gets done, and your business is a little bit all over the place because the routine tasks are not properly, set up. So this is why it's important to start looking at your projects, breaking them down into actionable pieces. So we have a framework called the productive action process. It's actually taking your projects and understanding that you have big rocks, small rocks, and you break them down into daily actions. So bite-sized daily actions. And the routine, same things. You have recurring tasks. You need to start your processes and your procedures in order to standardize that, right? So what we call the routine standardization is that you're going to have to look into that and start building actually an order to these things so you can start delegating, outsourcing, or automating. And I think this is the main 2 points that most entrepreneurs have to do and to master in order to move forward with their business. And once you do that, now you have to understand that you got to limit the number of reactive tasks, and we have different frameworks for that, and also deal with your responsive tasks. Okay, your emails, your communications, your calls, your meetings, you name it. So there's ways to optimize that. The problem is that because we don't prioritize, we end up, it just becomes a big pile. It's all in one big pile.
Yeah.
And you have to make an inventory of your task and say, okay, where does that fit in? And then you're going to track your time. Let's say you track over a week, and you're going to realize that, like I'm doing too many low impact tasks. And a lot of these tasks just take a lot of energy to produce, right? So it's a process to do it. And then it's to organize. So the Done by Noon framework shows you actually how you can take these 4 types of tasks, organize them, optimize them, and actually achieve more by noon than you would in a full day, right? And we have the full framework for that. And obviously, your reality, that doesn't mean that that you're going to be done by noon and after that nothing.
Yeah.
However, that's going to show you how you can structure your day in order to optimize your output without actually spending all your input on working and on the high effort things. There's a way to do it when you can actually be efficient in the process. Efficiency first productivity, where you can learn how to manage your time, your energy, your attention in the right way in order to have the desired outcome. The output being measured as the desired outcome. And when you do that and you start optimizing, guess what? You start reclaiming your time, and you start being more productive, and you get more done. But also, you will have more space in your life, right?
Mm.
And more space always means more sustainability because you have, room to play. So there's different concepts that we've brought into from the world of sports performance, like load management, for example. Like this is something that as an athlete, for example, you have to be conscious of load management. You have to understand how much workload you have and deal with that on your daily basis, right? It's like working out. Working 7 days a week is actually counterproductive. You're actually probably going to lose muscle instead of building muscle, right? It's the same thing with work. You have to understand your workload and structure it properly. Periodization, that's the same thing. We take periodization as a sports performance approach, and we actually show you how to apply it to entrepreneurship. And it's very similar. It's the way you should approach your projects is exactly the way you should approach a training program. But guess what? What do you do? Do you optimize? Do you take supplements before you work out? Like before actually starting working out and having a nutrition check? Or you do the opposite?
Yeah, right.
So
yeah. Those are great analogies. And I just want to recap because there was just a ton of gold dropped right there from Dave. So if you guys need to just rewind and go back, let's run through those 4 R's. So you have the rocks in your life, the big projects.
Yes.
You have the routines, which these are things you do on a regular basis that you eventually do want to systematize into standard operating procedures.
Yes.
Right. Then you have the reactions or the
reactive tasks. Yeah.
Reactive tasks. Maybe that's you got, an email or calls, right? Or
that would be the responsive tasks.
Responsive tasks.
Yeah.
And reactive tasks are the 2 that you want to essentially be aware of because those can deter you from accomplishing your high impact tasks, those rocks and those routines.
That's correct.
Yeah. And I think that's so elegantly broken down in a simplistic format that entrepreneurs and just anyone could really understand, okay, what are the most important tasks that actually move the needle in my business?
Yeah.
And what are the routines that I do over and over again that I could potentially automate or delegate? And then what are the, things that tie me up, that get me, like wasting my time essentially, where you're just stuck in your inbox and you're
things you should not do. We call that, we actually have like a drifting cost exercise, and we're actually able to put a dollar value on these tasks and show you actually the opportunity cost, like how much money you're not making because of that. And there's a full exercise in the book. And I would say a lot of us go wander in the subpar or the ignorance zone a little bit too much. And this is where you drift, right? And this is where you should not go. We all go there. We all do these mistakes. But the problem is that, and that's one thing too, and I haven't talked about the 4th step, but it's good to do that. It's good to get structured. But this is where and this is what I found that most methodologies or approaches fail, is that they don't have the 4th step, which is protection. You have to protect your structure. It's good to have something like that, but if you don't learn how to protect it, it's not going to work. And with protection also comes the frequency of realignment, is how many times you're going to realign and stay, keep your eyes on the prize. And also realign, because here's the thing with alignment. Alignment can change. It's not because your vision was something 5 years ago that it will be the same now. And it can change. But allowing you to redirect, to pivot, to set just new points in the GPS for your new destination, you're going to keep driving. Yeah. But guess what? You're just going to go somewhere that you truly want to go, and that's fine. But you got to allow yourself to do that. And other problems that ambition appropriation is one of the reasons for that, because oh no, man, you should do this, and no, you should do. Why don't you do that? Or listen to yourself. I mean, you have the answer. Yeah, not other people, right? But we all do that mistake. I mean, let's be honest. Every single entrepreneur will do this mistake in his career. Like, it will happen to pretty much everybody.
Yeah, it's so true. And you have to realign. You have to listen to your intuition. You have to quantify where you're at. And I think the protection element is very key. So walk us through real quick. That was the 4th step.
Yes.
Protection. What's the 1, 2, and 3 one more time?
So projection, step number 1.
Projection.
Okay, so you got to project yourself in the future, know where you're going.
Yep.
You got to prioritize, so understand within your workload what are the most important things that you have to do in order to stay aligned and drive towards your vision. Planning. So you have to plan, obviously, your structure, and then protect it. So protection is step number 4. Okay. So let's say the done by noon framework is part of the planning step. Where yes, you have to understand how to plan your weeks properly, and you have to understand how you plan your days properly. Right? The Effic planner, for example, is a perfect tool for that. Like that's why we've built for entrepreneurs to manage themselves, quarterly, but more importantly, on a daily basis. And we incorporate, actually, protection is well incorporated within the planner because we're talking about self-care. We're talking about like the evening checkout, making a right transition, if you want, between your work and your personal life. We have a tool called the Idea Box. There's another problem with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we get a lot of ideas.
The hamster drinks Red Bull all the time.
Yeah, it's so true.
We always have too many ideas. So it's to build systems to just, we talk about time and energy, but attention, like, is a finite resource, and you have to understand how to manage it properly. So that's one tool that we have, and we show you exactly how to set it up and work it properly. And for me, I'm like, you know what? If it's not in my planner, if it's not included in there, it can happen.
Dave, where can people go to get this planner, man? I mean, I'm sure they're hungry for it after hearing how much. I know. I can't wait till mine arrives. I know you sent it. I'm super pumped about it, and I'm going to dive in. Where can people go to get the book and the planner?
Actually, so you can go to efficplanner.com, and you can use coupon code HAPPY to get 10%. Brought to you by your good friend Gary Jack.
Hey,
so we're happy to extend the 10% off we have a deal too if those who want to invest for the yearly pack. So it's a quarterly planner, and we have a 4-pack like that's already discounted. You get actually 10% on top of that. So it actually becomes a pretty cool deal. So 10%
awesome.
With the coupon code HAPPY and donebynoonbook.com if you want. We're actually giving away free copies right now of the book.
Damn.
Yeah, we ordered the first 1,000 copies to give away. So
there you go, guys.
You pay shipping.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but
so donebynoonbook.com if you guys want Dave's awesome book, Done by Noon, and you can get the planner through that site as well, Done by Noon book, or do they have to go to Effic?
When you get the free book, obviously we're going to offer you. If you want to get a planner.
Okay.
So if you want to get a planner, you're going to see it. Like you can just get the book, and we'll ask you if you want to add a planner to your order.
Awesome.
You can say yes or no.
There you go, guys. Dave, I want to get into some tangible happy hustle hacks, and I like to do this in a couple different disciplines. Let's start with health, because I know you were a former bodybuilder. Talk to us about some of your, let's say, non-negotiables for health. Maybe, top 1 or 2 things that you live by that could help the happy hustlers if they wanted to implement.
There's multiple things, and there's very tangible things. Like obviously, I'm big on. So I'm 30 years old now, and digestion is actually a problem now. So I'm grateful that when I invest in biooptimizers, I believed in the products and obviously, like I was using them more for performance aspects, especially the probiotics, the enzymes, and now actually for sleep, for my full blown digestion, everything, and so digestion is a big thing. So I supplement quite a bit with enzymes, with probiotics, magnesium.
As do I. Yeah. I use biooptimizers regularly, so I totally agree with you.
It just helps, and you know what? I think like even if you're younger. It's just going to help you protect, your enzymatic stocks if you want, and you're just going to be able to perform. It's a matter of sustainability. So you don't have to go crazy. It's just a matter of making it a sustainable habit. I wish I would have started earlier. I got to be honest. Like I wish this is something I would have started earlier. Another non-negotiable thing is hydration. So it's basic. I mean, it's basic, man. I mean, but how many, like, we all walk around dehydrated. Like we don't drink enough water. One of the things that I do in the morning, and it's part of the self-care routine that's in the plan, is that first thing when I wake up, half a liter of water. I drink my supplements, and then I fill up a 2-liter bottle of water. I'm sure I have my minimum intake for the day, sorry, that's taken care of. So that's one thing.
Those are great.
And there's one thing that you need to understand with self-care too. And there's one thing that's super counterproductive is that I have my cigar smoking time every single week. Yes, you're going to tell me, Dave, it's not the healthiest thing. Get what?
I tell you, balance. That's me.
It's you know what? Like for me, like Ron Perlman said that. He's like, some people meditate, I smoke cigars. You know, I'm not a heavy smoker, but when I smoke a cigar, I really enjoy it. It's usually my reward for the week.
Yep.
And I think, some people are going to eat a cheeseburger. For me, it's, a cigar. And I got to say, like, it's puts me in the right place. That's my form of meditation. And it makes me happy, man.
Yeah.
It makes me happy. And I think the happiness benefits surpass the little bit of nicotine and smoke I might get. That's my take on it. I might be wrong. I can be challenged for it. We can talk about it, but this is my view on it. And I'm not gonna, compromise on my happiness. I feel like if I do 90% things 90% right, I'm gonna be all right. You know? So
I like it, man. You're not going to hear any flack from me. I think, life's about living. You got to enjoy the little things. You have to do things in moderation, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're smoking a cigar every day, maybe I would tell you, a little like pipe down, Dave, pun intended. But let's talk. You like that? Let's talk about, Dave, money. I want to talk about a happy hustle hack for money. And I know you've, made millions. I'm sure you've lost a bunch of money in the process or, mismanaged it. Let's talk about how the happy hustlers can, invest, save, and spend wisely, and maybe a happy hustle hack around it.
That's such a great question. And that's something I wish I would have been better with my money as a young entrepreneur. I think when we're a young entrepreneur and we start making, money, we spend way too much instead of investing. We don't realize it's like with anything. It's like with our health, with our relationships. When we're young, we don't really understand the value of investment.
Compound interest, right? If you just knew that one phrase.
Dude, I think we might not even be talking right now if I had saved the money that I should have in my early days. I mean, we traveled quite a bit and everything, but obviously you have to. I'm a big fan of keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
You save some, you invest some, okay? And I'm a big fan of investing and reinvest it in some ways. Like I love reinvesting in my businesses. I love having sound traditional type of investments, but I love reinvesting my money in new ventures. That's one thing. But I don't want to put all my money in the new ventures. I want to keep that going. So obviously something that will allow you to have that cushion, money that and when I say play money, for me, the play money is really investing, in my own businesses. I'm not a fierce investor, but I want to play me. I want to play. So I invest quite a bit of that money into playing. Also, be efficient with your money too. Run your finances like you would run yourself. You want sustainability. I realized, for example, when I was younger, I was spending so much money on things I didn't need. Like a car. I'm not a car guy. I was having an expensive car. It was too expensive. I barely drive. Work from home. Me and my wife, we just have one vehicle that we share, me and my wife, because we both work from home. We only do 25,000 kilometers a year, all together to us. I mean, so now it's just something that we realize that we don't fucking need, So I try not to live in excess. I have everything I need. I have a beautiful house. I have a beautiful family. I mean, I don't need more, honestly. And I see you're not going to see me flash my cars. I don't have cars, but all the things the jets and shit. I think this is so ridiculous. I think for me anyway, some people find fulfillment in it, fine, but this shit doesn't fulfill me.
Yeah, no, I think the materialistic items often beget this level of allure, but when it comes down to it and you actually accomplish the goal or the materialistic jet or car or watch, you realize that it doesn't bring fulfillment or happiness.
You just feel your insecurities from childhood,
Yeah.
and you think that having these things will make people admire you, and then you realize that people don't give a flying fuck about it.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think also, for me, the more I make, the more I want to give. And I know that's something for you as well, where you're like, that's what the money is, just a scoreboard.
Yeah.
Yes, of the value that you're delivering to the world. However, the more you make, the more you can give. And that for me is what's most important in my ventures. And I think we can all, live with that selfless service mindset more. And every time I give, that gives me so much more fulfillment than ever buying something fancy for myself.
Because you've made this switch in your life. I talk about it in the book. I talk about the entrepreneurial midlife crisis. And at one point, like I said, financial freedom might be the main driver at first, and that we might be like super excited to get more and things like that. But every single entrepreneur at one point in their career will start to rethink the way they do things, because it's like, the midlife crisis, for example, is like you realize you're going to die, and you realize all the things that you haven't done, and you're like, shit, I got to start doing them right now, because otherwise I'm not going to have lived my life. And then this is where you start driving, you buy a convertible and do take questionable decisions, But as an entrepreneur, it's, what can I do now? Now that I accomplished that, what can I do now that's going to have impact? That's going to makes me fulfilled, on another level. And we start rethinking that, and we all go through that period of kind of reinvention, but where we don't look, to the future, to the past, for what we haven't done. We look to the future and what we can do in the future. And I think it happens to all of our entrepreneurs. And I think a lot of the happy hustlers who listen to your podcast are in that position where they need, like, I need to start thinking about like the next phase of my entrepreneurial life,
Yeah. And how you can become a better version of yourself in the process, but also how you can make others better around you. Like Zig Ziglar says, you can have everything you want in this life if you just help enough others get what they want.
Yeah.
And it's just so true. So I love that, Dave. That's a great point. Let's talk about spirituality. And I don't know, if you believe in one God or another, but for me, spirituality is about higher power and believing and having faith and morals to stand behind. Do you have any tangible tactics or happy hustle hacks, will you, around spirituality?
Yeah, I'm not a religious guy. I was born Catholic. My parents were believer, but didn't practice much. I felt like it was part of the culture when I was born. People are just Catholic because that's the way it is. And actually, it's like Catholic, you had the first like communion, then you have your confirmation. And I remember I didn't understand. I did my first communion, but then, I can't remember what age the confirmation was, but I was the only one of my age group on the island who didn't do their confirmation, because most young guys didn't care. They didn't care about it. And on the island, the things that like your relatives give you money when you confirm, like that's how it works. And I was like, I feel this is so wrong.
Yeah.
Like, this is not right. Like, you don't do it for your faith. You don't do it because it's right. You do it just because it's a selfish thing. And I refused to get confirmed because I understand the value of religion. I have many friends who are hardcore, Jesus Christ worshipers, and I think it's great. But for me, that was not the framework that I wanted to be in. So I try to be a spiritual guy. I feel like we're, all interconnected in some ways. I feel like, man, nature, there's a whole, I see it really as a holistic thing. For me, my best way to access, I would say, my own spirituality is to take care of myself properly, take care of my family, live up to my values, stay aligned and do good. And honestly, that's how I practice it. I'm not a big fan of like long meditation or things like that, but I do prioritize self-care.
Yeah.
And for me, like, if I can do that and I be connected with others, I know good things will follow. So that I feel like it's my contribution. That's how I access. I don't feel the need for a framework, if you want, for spirituality. That's my personal thing.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I think everyone has to find their own personal path with spirituality. I think it's important to have some type of path. Like it's an important element in our lives as human beings to believe in a higher power. We are, all living in this meat suit, but we're spiritual beings. Our bodies decompose, they keep on going, but our spirits live on. So I think it's important to have some type of, spiritual connection. And I like where your head's at there.
I'm a big believer in, past lives and we're here for a meaning. I did some work with that. And,
cool.
That's the thing. I think faith is the only thing that, that's why you're going to believe in something, is your faith into that thing.
Yeah.
I believe into, this type of things. Do I have proof? No. Faith.
Right. Exactly. Dave, this has been great. Before we jump into the rapid fire round and then wrap this bad boy up, I want to take a quick moment for our sponsor. All right, we're back, guys, and we're going to hit the rapid fire round with Dave Ruel. And this is where I just ask you random questions and you answer honestly, first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready, Dave?
Yeah, man.
All right. Favorite movie? Go.
Oh, shit.
First one that came to mind. What was it?
Mystery Alaska. I don't know.
Okay. Favorite food?
Oh, cheeseburgers.
Favorite book?
Done by Noon.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, fuck. Eagle? Probably eagle.
Best business advice?
Keep it simple, stupid.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be? What came to mind? I know you thought of something quick.
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I this is the kind of thing I have no idea. Like Wolverine.
Oh, there you go. That's one word you wish to be synonymous with your name for the rest of your life.
Sustainability. Or family.
Oh, I like it. Sustainability was a good one.
Yeah.
And 3 things you're most grateful for.
I'm grateful to be alive right now on this earth, for sure. I'm grateful for my marriage. And I'm grateful for my family. This is like, without it, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah,
what's it all for? Yeah.
I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for a lot of small things, but on the greater scale.
Yeah.
Like I'm still thinking about that favorite movie. I love hockey movies. Oh, no, hold on. Because there's a movie that we watch all the time with me and my friend. I got my friend Liam from Scotland. Every year he flies to Canada with us, lives with us for a week here, and we watch Inglourious Bastards every single year, and we love that movie. So I would say Inglourious Bastards might be my movie, but I love hockey movie. Mystery Alaska is.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's a hockey movie, and Russell Crowe's in that movie. It's great.
Oh, awesome. Dave, this has been great, man. I just want to acknowledge you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with happy hustlers out there, guys. And I just highly urge everyone to go to donebynoonbook.com, pick up a copy of his book and the journal or the planner, will you? And I mean, use code HAPPY, save yourself some moolah in the process. Dave, before I ask you the final question, is there any parting words of advice you'd like to bestow upon the happy hustlers?
Stay happy, my fellow hustlers. Stay aligned. Listen to Carrie, and everything's going to be fine.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Dave. Final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
It means always being on the right path towards what I truly want and being the best version that I can be doing it, being the best self-leader that I can be, because when you're your best self, when you lead yourself at your best of your capacities, you will be able to lead others to the best of your capacities. So you have a responsibility as an entrepreneur, be a good self-leader.
Love it. Mic drop. Dave Ruel, everyone. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you.
Oh, my man. Thanks so much.
Guys, for listening.